Hey there, I'm Angela Sharpe, and welcome to the Daily Mix. I'm very excited to be here today. You know what I stumbled upon over the weekend? This really cute little boutique in Lebanon, Illinois called Minerva. And they have all these awesome gifts that give back. I actually got this dress there, but they have all these really cool, you know, like bracelets and earrings and necklaces and stuff, where a portion of the proceeds will go to helping, you know, domestic violence or pets. It was very cool, so I suggest that you definitely stop by. Also this weekend, I got to perform in the second annual Legends game held over there at the River City Rascals event. That is where they put a bunch of us media people and they mix us in with former Cardinals and we play a softball game. Vince Coleman, David Eckstein, Scott Spezio, and Kyle McClellan were all there, which was pretty cool. I was actually on David Eckstein's team, and not to brag, but we did win 5-2. Granted, I had really nothing to do with that win at all, pretty much, because softball hasn't really been my thing since high school, but it was super fun to play. Plus, I got to interview all those former Cardinals. And you know what? They all said the exact same thing. They all said, coming back to St. Louis is always so much fun because there are no better fans in baseball. So there you have it. Now this is kind of fun. A Michigan man is putting an old-fashioned twist on Uber and Lyft. Timothy Hackensliler is now offering what he calls Amish Uber. That's right, it's in a small town of Holland. For just $5, riders can get a lift in his horse and buggy. Now, of course, there is no app for Amish Uber, so if you want to ride, you have to flag the carriage down on the street, kind of like a cab. So basically, it's a cab, but Amish style, so it's a horse and buggy. Kind of cool. Now, a 10-year-old swimmer nicknamed Superman recently earned the title when he broke a long-standing Michael Phelps record. Now, his name is Clark Kent, hence the Superman, and not only did he win the 100-meter butterfly at Far West International Championship, but he beat the record that Phelps set in the championship in 1995. And he beat it by more than a second. Coming in at 1:09:38, Clark Kent has been swimming competitively for just 4 years, and breaking a Phelps record was on his wish list. What else is on the list? Well, of course, competing in the Olympics. Now, if he already broke Michael Phelps' record, right, then by a whole second, if he continues to work just as hard as Michael did, I think maybe he could beat his record in gold medals. How cool would that be? Now, later on the show, I have Alex Johnmeyer here. They're going to show us all their art. They're going to talk about some of the events coming up that we can check out their art at. So it's going to be a ton of fun. You want to keep it right here. Let's get started on today's Daily Mix. Have you seen this picture of the photo-bombing wedding dog that has been making the rounds all over the internet the past couple of weeks? Well, that's Boone. He and his family just live across the river in Freeburg, Illinois. When his owners, Jace Conway and Angie Blumberg, were married this July in Montana, Boone was supposed to be the best man, but during the opening prayer, he got a little excited, and of course, he stole the show. Since the wedding pic with the Happy Lab has been posted and shared over 50,000 times and viewed by millions of people. It was even featured on the Today Show. And that big smile on Boone's face shouldn't come as a big surprise. Not only does he have a loving family, but he lives in one of the most pet-friendly areas in the U.S. That's right. According to Wallet Hub, St. Louis is among the 20 most pet-friendly cities in the U.S. They did nearly 85 million pet-loving households in the U.S., and they did it based on personal finances, and they compared the 100 largest cities to find out which places are the most pet-friendly. They looked at 3 main categories: pet budget, pet health and wellness, and of course, outdoor pet friendliness. After comparing 24 key metrics, St. Louis ranked 20 overall. Scottsdale, Arizona came in at number 1, and Honolulu is on the list at number 100. You can see the full list at wallethub.com. And if you are looking for a pet-friendly event this weekend, grab your pooch and head to Forest Park for the St. Louis World's Fair Heritage Festival presented by Sauce Magazine. This is the 5th year for the free festival. Last year, over 30,000 people came out over the 3-day event to celebrate the region's finest music, art, food, and history. The annual celebration features events and competitions that honor the heritage of St. Louis World's Fair while highlighting the culture of St. Louis today. This year, festival takes place Friday, August 17th through Sunday, August 19th at the World's Fair Pavilion. It's going to be a huge event, and you can find out a full list of everything they have to offer at STL Worlds Fair. That's FARE.com. The YWCA of St. Louis has a question for all of you guys out there. Are you man enough to walk a mile in her shoes? The 6th annual Walk a Mile in Her Shoes is next week, and they want you to come out and take a stand against rape, sexual assault, and gender violence. Each year, hundreds of men wearing high heels join the International Men's March to raise awareness. Joined by their families, they walk the event en route with these custom-made high heels. The money raised supports the YWCA's many services, including the Women's Research Center and Women's Place. This year's honorary chair is former St. Louis Ram and Football Hall of Famer Orlando Pace. You can meet the Big O and walk a mile in her shoes next Tuesday, August 21st at 6 p.m. at the Missouri Athletic Club. You can register and find out everything you didn't know at ywcastl.org. Now, we love seeing new babies at the St. Louis Zoo, and one of the newest additions is Colton, a male gray zebra fowl. Colton was born on July 19th, and now visitors can see him and his mom at the Red Rocks area of the zoo. Colton is the 9th zebra to be born at the zoo in the past 10 years, and in the past 40 years, the zoo has celebrated 29 births of this endangered species. Over the last 30 years, the number of wild gray zebras has dropped from 15,000 to less than 3,000. In 2007, the zoo helped establish the Zebra Trust to help safeguard the species from extinction. You can learn more about the zoo's conservation efforts and plan your next trip to see the baby Colton by visiting stlzoo.org. Matthews Dickies will be hosting the Martin L. Matthews Award Program and Benefit Concert Soul Funk Fest this weekend. The evening will kick off with an award show named in the honor of the organization's co-founder, Martin Luther Matthews. The fun will continue with performances by Cameo, Dougie Fresh, and Love Jones. Proceeds from the event will directly support Matthews Dickey and the program they offer in the St. Louis area. Soul Funk Fest, hosted by comedian Darius Bradford, will take place Saturday, August 18th at 7 p.m. at the fabulous Fox Theater. For more information, visit matthews-dickey.com. After 5 years, the Flying Saucers Draft Emporium has announced it will be closing this September. And that bar is downtown on Spruce Street. It counts downtown, and it's going to count down their final weeks. Already in the works is a new concept for that space. According to St. Louis Magazine, Stephen Savage, the co-owner of Wheelhouse and Start Bar, plans to enlarge the front, kind of expand a little bit and close the patio so it can be used year-round. The new space will offer food and an atmosphere for a more mature crowd, and is expected to open next March. You can read more about the future plans for 900 Spruce Street under the dining tab at stlmag.com. Of course, he's making it for the more mature crowd because he doesn't want to compete with his own businesses down the street, Wheelhouse and Start Bar, which already pretty much own the nightlife in downtown St. Louis. This Saturday is Global Climbing Day, and Upper Limits is partnering with the North Face to celebrate. They will be offering free climbing, food trucks, and outdoor yoga, and of course fitness classes all throughout their day in their downtown location. Global Climbing Day is part of the North Face Walls Are Meant for Climbing campaign. The North Face will donate $1 to Koom Boom Climbing Center for every person who climbs at Upper Limits and the over 150 other partner gyms on Global Climbing Day. Global Climbing Day is this Saturday, August 18th, and Upper Limits in downtown St. Louis will be celebrating all day. It's from 10 to 8 p.m. For more information, check them out on Facebook or Twitter or at upperlimits.com. Leave the cooking to the professionals next week. That's right, you can head downtown for a taste of the city. 15 restaurants will be offering an elegant 3-course meal at the discounted price point for the 14th annual Downtown Restaurant Week. And while you're dining out, you can also help support Operation Food Search with a small extra helping. Downtown Restaurant Week will take place Monday, August 20th through Sunday, the 26th. You can check out the menus and make reservations online at downtownrestaurantweek.net. You may remember last year when the St. Louis Post-Dispatch featured a home in St. Charles. Why would you? Well, remember a home from a year ago? Well, this is why. The house is built from shipping containers, and the spotlight is back on in the Netflix original series, Amazing Interiors. Bree and Zach Smithley's home is featured on episode 3, Circus House Recycled Sci-Fi Museum. You can learn more about them and the Smithies and their unique home at stltoday.com. And then you can see Amazing Interior all for yourself on Netflix, which is pretty cool. And I'm very excited. We have Alex Johnmeyer here. Now, you have brought some of your artwork in. You've got a couple events coming up.
I do.
So there's a lot going on, but first this motorcycle, by the way, is amazing. So let's first kind of take us all the way back.
Okay.
When did you know that art was something you were good at?
Well, I loved art my entire life, and I knew it was something I wanted to do, but I would say it was about 8 years ago when I first started dabbling with representational work that people really responded to it, and I felt like, okay, this is my thing, let's do this. So I would say 8 years ago.
8 years ago is kind of when it all kind of clicked for you.
Yeah. I started my company 10 years ago. I was doing commissions and expressionist work, but then when I started, I take my own photographs, so I use my own photographs and interpret them into acrylic and watercolor paintings.
Okay, well, that's cool. First, let's talk about some of the ones you brought in for us to see here live.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I work for my own photographs. So my father-in-law was a farmer in Fayette, Missouri. I don't know if you, okay. So one day he asked if I wanted to go with him and ride around the farm to check on the land. And so I brought my camera, and that day I took a ton of pictures. And this motorcycle was in this abandoned barn, and it honestly had probably not even been looked at since the 1980s. And so I took a photo, and then I turned it into a painting. And so it has a lot of emotional meaning for me, but also symbolism. You know that a lot of people consider the motorcycle to be representative of liberty and freedom, but also self-expression. So, you know, leather bikers, but also the butch lesbian community. The motorcycle represents freedom and self-expression.
Oh, I love that. Okay,
Thank
there's
you.
a great story there. And then this is a tire.
Yes, also from the same day that I took this photograph, I took the photograph that I worked from. This was my father-in-law's farm truck that he would go out and check on all of his soy and corn and his crops, and it was filthy. And I took the photo, and then what you can't maybe not be able to tell very well on camera is that it's highly textured.
Yeah, well, I can see it because I'm right next to it. You could, I mean, I'm not going to touch it, but
No, you
if
could
you
totally
touched
touch
it, you could
totally touch
feel
it.
it. I'm not gonna
The
touch it.
grass is raised, like little strips of grass, and then this center, the hub, if you will, is like super rough and cracked, and then the word superior is raised like it really would be on a truck tire.
On the truck tire.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you start getting mixed in, you know, bringing the, what do we call this, texture out?
Yeah. So, commission painting I did for a customer. She was a horror fiction writer in St. Charles, and she's like, okay, I want you to do this painting for me, and I want to be inspired. I want to be like darkness and like, you know, mystery. And I was like, okay. So she wanted an abstract, and I was like, what can I? Okay, feelings, not representational, feelings.
Right.
And so I went to Art Mart, the lovely people at Art Mart, and I said, I need texture. And so they introduced me to all of the textures, and some of them felt like sidewalk, and some of them felt like all smooth, and some of them were fluffy. And so then I was like, I took these things, and then when I was in college, I worked as a cake decorator for 3 years, and I learned working with frosting is not so different from working with these texture media. And so that's how I figured out how to put them in a piping bag, and you would normally write happy birthday, but instead I pipe out very tiny details, or I use my spatula and I smooth it around like you would frosting on a cake, and then I paint it. It's a lot of fun, I make a huge mess.
Oh, well, I can imagine that it would be very messy. But what I think is cool is that you've got all these awesome pieces of art that you're selling, and somewhere somebody has a cake that they ate that you decorated back in the day.
That's completely true. A very long time ago.
No, you said 8 years ago is when it clicked, but when you were younger, were you always good at it?
I mean, my art teachers told me I was good at it. So, but obviously there's a big difference between a third grader and a 40-year-old. So, but yeah, whenever I started my company, I was like, people really seemed to, they were like, oh, can you make this for me? Can you make this for me? And I'm like, yes, but I would say 8 years ago.
That's awesome. No, you've got a couple events coming up.
I do.
Arts of Pause, presented by Purina, hosted by St. Louis Effort for AIDS.
Yeah.
What is that going to entail?
So the Art of Pause is a one-night fundraiser. It's a silent art auction, but also it's just a gigantic party. This year, because the Art of Pause is presented by Purina, it's bigger and better than ever. There's a cocktail competition, hors d'oeuvres, live music by Vote for Pedro, but also there's 52 artists who will be donating one-of-a-kind pieces of art, and the people coming to the show, or to the event, can bid on the pieces and go home with the pieces of art that night. So yeah, it's a big deal. The Art of Pause takes place at the Grand Ballroom down at Gallery 1014, which is on Locust. It's from 7 to 10.
I love that. And then you also have an opening reception at Green Door Art Gallery.
Yep, that's
What
correct.
is that?
Green Door Art Gallery is owned by two women here in St. Louis, so it's in Webster Groves, Michelle Wells and Vic Mastis, and they're lovely. It's been open 5 years, and so every 2 months they have an opening reception. So in September and October, I'm one of the featured artists. So it'll be like an open house, come and have some hors d'oeuvres, have some wine, look at some art. So I'm one of the featured artists, and these are two of the pieces that will be in that show. Other featured artists are Mary Englebright.
Oh, hey,
I
everybody
know.
knows Mary
I know.
Englebright, and she grew up in Webster.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And so she's going to have new pieces for her calendar series. But then also there's a local photographer named Jerry Schmutz. He does gorgeous work. And then another artist named Gary Beasley, who does plein air architectural watercolors. So the four of us are the featured artists. But total, the entire gallery will have about 40 artists total. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I mean, we could talk all day. And Alex, it's so very interesting. How can people stalk you on the internet?
I'm easy to find. Type in Alex Johnmeyer and there's, no, my website is alexjohnmeyer.com. On Facebook, I am Alex Johnmeyer Art. And if you go so bold as to say Instagram, I'm super keen, baby.
There you go. So you can follow Alex's artwork. Check out everything Alex has to offer. All right, thank you. You can check us out, of course, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can always drop us a line right here at The Daily Mix. We want to hear from you. That's The Daily Mix at stltv.net. All right, that's going to do it for this week. I'll see you next time.